Thanks, Godfrey. On October 22nd, 2025, the body of Lauren Saunders, a 7-month pregnant mother of 2, was discovered on Munnings Road. In our Law Matters segment, we'll dive into circumstances surrounding Lauren's tragic death and examine the role of law enforcement as it relates to search and rescue efforts. With me now are Khalil Parker, KC, President of the Bahamas Bar Association, and Miranda Adderley, Chair of the Criminal Bar Committee. Good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. Thank you for having us again.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. Can you provide an overview of the current legal framework governing search and rescue operations here in the Bahamas?
Well, first off, we, on behalf of the Bahamas Bar Association, the Criminal Bar Committee, want to express deep condolences and sympathy to the family of Miss Lauren Saunders, who we have to tragically discuss today again. Khalil, I don't know if you wanted to get into.
Yes, and her loved ones. I mean, the search and rescue law in terms of reporting and investigations, pretty straightforward. You know, there's a question of, you know, when you come to the police, you want an immediate response. You know, you've determined, before you come to the police, you've determined that your loved one is missing and you want immediate action. And I think that there needs to be some understanding that the police have to digest that information, and there may be some protocols about when they can do the all hands on deck moment. But for us, we want to take it a step back because the situation, sadly again, is the implication is that there was a domestic element to this. And the reality is that oftentimes when the police get involved, it is after the fact, after a tragedy has occurred. And the problem that we have as a nation is, yes, we have to investigate and solve crimes, but we're also as a society producing the murderers. We're producing the situation that puts our fellow citizens in this situation. And so we have to develop methods and methodologies, and our crime strategy has to begin with the question of the individuals and the Bahamians that we are producing. And I will continue to say this because we cannot continue to count murders. We can't celebrate 99 versus 115. You know, we really have to have an all hands on deck approach to this vexing problem, and it is a societal problem, and it is a root to branch solution that has to be embarked upon.
Absolutely. And, you know, when we think about, in the case of Lauren Saunders, how did the police's response align with standard procedures in missing persons?
Well, as far as I'm aware, it's normally 48 hours for a missing person report. Like after you report 48 hours, then the police would then consider, yes, let's go and do a search and rescue.
After 48 hours is when they begin the search and rescue.
Yes.
So anything could happen in between the 48 hours, right?
Again, there's discretion. And again, I don't think that there's I think that we would leave this situation. We're not suggesting that there was a delay in the circumstances.
Right.
Yes, but what we're saying is that, like, now we have the Marcos law alerts, right? We know the phone always beeps because now, before you'd have to wait 48 hours before we got these alerts. Now, because of Adriel Moxie, who we discussed unfortunately earlier this year, they've now made it where immediately children, if they're missing, the alerts go out. So maybe that's something that we could look at for these types of situations where there are mysterious or suspicious circumstances where we understand with young Lauren, there was a car that was left with a flat tire, there was shoes, and very suspicious circumstances. And then we say in those circumstances, maybe the 48-hour window is too much. Maybe it needs to be a shorter window where we see that there may be some foul play at hand. And I saw on the news coverage the family saying that you know, they were out there searching themselves and there was some like distraction from where they were searching. Oh, they weren't allowed to go in certain areas. Is there the question of technology? Are there drones available? Is there, you know, adequate staffing for this type of exercise? If someone is missing, do we have an extra 10 police to say, go and search the bushes? You know, do we have drones available and overhead cameras that can assist?
I want to ask, do we have those resources?
I mean, I understand that they are there. Now, why they're not being deployed, what it takes for them to be deployed, I think that's the question that maybe...
Well, it's a question of transparency. I think that after every situation, because it attracts so much public attention, you need to unpack these things. You know, I applaud the commission and the team. They had a press conference, I think it was yesterday on it, but we have to get to the ground so people know which resources are available and they know what triggers the response so that we don't have this armchair policing that can develop when there's a lack of clarity as to the protocols employed in these situations.
Right. And then how can the legal community collaborate with law enforcement just to enhance public trust and accountability with something like this? Because it seems that that's, you know, a bit of a concern too.
Well, I think that, you know, we have a good relationship with the Royal Bahamas Police Force. We're seeking to deepen that. We are seeking to take up a role in training so that, you know, there is collaboration between the police and the legal community so that we can shed more light on these circumstances. I think that at the end of the day, families and the community, there's a trust deficit. And I think that when they see professionals getting along professionally and engaging in a transparent way, it does a lot to take the temperature down. Right. And so we do a lot of work with trying to, before something happens, establish protocols so that they understand when the police are on the scene, what the relationship is, and they understand when the lawyer turns up, what the relationship is. So I think that it's that kind of collaboration, and they need to see us together. So we're probably going to do more, maybe have one of our police colleagues with us on Law Matters, right, so that we can shed some light on these things, because unfortunately they are busy doing the work and they're not always available to demystify these things. But we're encouraging that, and I think we see some of it happening here.
Yeah. You know, in this case in particular, I think what was more alarming, I think, for the public was that this was a mother of two. She was a pregnant lady. So, of course, you know, that touched on the hearts of people, right? Mm-hmm. What could we say to people out there watching just to, you know, just to make them feel a sense of safety and security in our country as it relates to law enforcement as well as the lawyers? Well,
I think that it is important. Every life matters. Every woman is precious. Yeah. Every individual is precious. I think that I opened with that. I opened with the concern we have for every life on these shores. And I think that we have to demonstrate that we have a strategy and we have an understanding that we're trying to turn the tide on this, as opposed to more police, those things are good. They have their place. But I think that we have to have early intervention. And the reality is that we are raising these people, and if we're not participating in the raising of the Bahamian citizen and pouring into them that which we want to get out, we're going to keep getting these results. We have to teach people how to be good citizens. Right. And so we have to intervene early, teach young men how to relate with women, teach young women how to relate with men, teach parents how to relate with their children, because when your child leaves the home, that pit bull is on the road.
Yes, exactly.
And so we have to make sure that you are raising your children right.
Yeah, and then also I think resources, you know, yes. I think the public needs to be aware that there are resources available.
Yeah. And who do we call?
I say the Crisis Center. I love to use the Crisis Center. That's one organization, nonprofit, that always is available and helpful for women, especially women, mothers, children.
Okay, awesome.
In this circumstance, I was also following the story, and I heard, I think, her pastor saying, she came to me, she asked me to pray for her, right, like almost as if she knew she was in danger, or she knew that something may have been coming at her. So I would say in those situations, if you are a woman, a pregnant woman, a woman in a situation with domestic violence and those types of situations, know that the Crisis Center is available. Yeah. Know that there are outside resources that are available to you, and take advantage of those, and get the police involved, even if it's just, I mean, to say, you know, I have a fear because this is a situation. Yeah. It may be too late, but now they could circle back and say, well, she did come and say this person was doing this and this person was saying this to her. So now the police can then go know maybe who to go to, who to look after.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, we gotta cut just because we are out of time. But it's been a pleasure having you all on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the work that you're doing as well.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.